All right, so welcome everybody. Thank you for coming to round two of the high school application process. Again, I'm Melissa Feinberg. I'm the assistant principal, and I have Lindsay Mandel, our middle school instructional coach, and Mr. Baez, our learning specialist in 3rd and 4th grade and translator for tonight.
Buenas noches, gracias por participar de nuevo en este segundo round del proceso de la aplicación. La que le está hablando es la señora Feinberg, que es la asistente principal, la señora Lindsay Mandel, que es una de las instructoras de 8º grado. Y este servidor, que es Pablo Baez, va a ser el que va a estar traduciendo la reunión del día de hoy.
And then Mr. Baez took a ton of time and translated all of our slides completely in Spanish. So Ms. Mandel is just working on getting that to you so that you can follow along in Spanish for those that need.
En este momento tuvimos la oportunidad de crear la presentación en español. La señora Mandel le va a hacer llegar esa presentación en español para que puedan seguirla página por página mientras ella discute la versión, el cual ya la acaba de poner en el chat. Verifiquen en el chat, pueden darle clic a ese nuevo link y pueden seguir la presentación en español. Thank you, Ms. Mandel.
No problem. As a reminder, and we'll say it again, we will be sharing these slides out, the English version and everything, so you'll have them. So as you're listening, know that you'll get them tomorrow.
Okay. And can you see the agenda? Something went funky when I shared.
Okay. It is not in presentation mode.
I know. I was just
okay. I'm just
right.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so here is our agenda for tonight. We're going to do a little bit of review and just about what's new and different. We're going to go through, go ahead, sorry.
Esta va a ser la agenda, el cual vamos a estar discutiendo en esta segunda ronda, paso por paso, para ir explicándole y dándole más información de la que conseguimos para esta ocasión.
We're going to go through that overview of the high school choices and what you are able to apply for.
Vamos a estar verificando las opciones que van a tener para las escuelas y cómo pueden aplicar en ellas.
We're actually going to walk through the screen so you can see what the application looks like and how to apply.
Vamos a verificar las siguientes imágenes y le vamos a enseñar cómo pueden aplicar para ciertas escuelas.
And then again, just update and then next steps.
I'm sorry, say that again.
And then next steps.
Y los próximos pasos.
All right, so just a reminder that GoCPS is that platform where everybody applies. So if you have not yet gone on to GoCPS or started exploring, now is the time to do that.
Y acuérdense que el GoCPS es la página a seguir para comenzar el proceso de aplicaciones. No hay ninguna otra opción, simplemente todo es a través de GoCPS.
So the application window is open now and it closes December 15th.
La ventana de la aplicación acaba de abrir en octubre 13 y se va a cerrar en diciembre 15.
So these are the things that were new. Again, there were a lot of questions last time around eligibility for programs. Most programs no longer have eligibility requirements, so that there shouldn't be any blocks to applying for different programs.
Ya no debe haber ningún tipo de bloqueo con relación a las aplicaciones. Aquí vamos a tener más información en cuestión de la elegibilidad. Ya no tienen requisitos de elegibilidad, lo que antes usaba para aplicar en las selecciones.
We talked about this last time, but again, there's a new high school test that all high school applicants will take, and there's no longer the NWEA requirement.
Ya no se va a utilizar el requisito del NWA que se utilizaba anteriormente. Va a haber un proceso nuevo para este año.
And then before we didn't know if test scores were going to be shared. Now we do know that the high school test scores will be shared with you. So that before the application closes, you're able to re-rank your choices up until that December 15th deadline, but you cannot restructure your order or re-rank your choices after that deadline.
Todos los puntajes de las pruebas se compartirán antes de que se cierre la solicitud para las escuelas secundarias y por lo tanto los estudiantes podrán volver a clasificar hasta la fecha límite de solicitud y no después.
The GoCPS website looks a little bit different. So if you've already used this and applied for high schools before, it's going to feel a little different.
La página nueva de GoCPS ha tenido algunos updates, así que cuando entren van a ver muchas cosas nuevas que están añadiendo en la página.
There are no more paper applications. So if you were somebody that wanted to do it on paper, you can now go in person to Coleman School.
Ya no hay más aplicaciones en papel, como se hacía anteriormente. Ahora si quiere ver, no quiere esperar por la puntuación y puede ir en persona, puede ir a la escuela Coleman para recibir las puntuaciones.
And then there is, again, no activation codes to create an account and apply.
Ya no va a haber ninguna activación de código para crear una cuenta y aplicar.
So we're going to go into some more details about some of those things, but does anybody have questions so far?
Antes de proseguir con más información sobre la presentación, ¿hay alguna duda o pregunta hasta donde se ha explicado en este momento?
I do.
Yeah.
Sorry, and I don't know if I'm out of bounds or if you're going to discuss this later, but my question is, when I did the application, it had me choose a testing date, and then so my son is Aaron Rosario, and he said, "Mom, you need to cancel that because we're going to be testing at CICS Irving Park." So I tried going in there to edit, but it won't let me edit and take out that testing date. I chose a Saturday at Lane at 8 o'clock in the morning.
That might
So-
have,
I don't know.
go ahead, Miss Mandel.
So what I would guess happened is you didn't put in a CPS ID. And we do have CPS IDs. We'll go over it a little bit later, but it's their 50 ID that's actually in their email. That not having that would have prompted the scheduling of an assessment or a test time. Is that possible? So I think,
Yeah, probably because.
okay, yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah,
anything.
yeah, totally. So try to go back in there and see if you add a CPS ID, if that changes. Otherwise, we can help you to figure out what's going on there. Mairead, I see your email. You don't need to, you should be able to just go to GoCPS and start an account.
Okay.
And then you do have to create a new account, even if you've had one before. So we'll
Okay,
get into that.
Restart the whole process?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I'll do then.
Okay, so we're going to go into a few more details about some of those things as well.
I had a quick question.
Mhm.
For charter schools, is it the same process for charter schools?
Yes.
High
so-
school?
Yep, they're choice schools. So we're going to look at that list in a minute too. Do you want to
Okay.
translate that question, Mr. Baez?
Yes, ma'am. Muchas de las preguntas que están teniendo ahora los padres en correlación si el proceso de las charter schools es igual que si fuera una escuela regular para la aplicación para hacer una high school, y la contestación es sí, es el mismo proceso, y ahora vamos a entrar en detalle de cómo aplicar para ese proceso.
So just a reminder that there's really 3 phases with the GoCPS: exploring the programs, applying to programs, and then selections are issued.
Los 3 procesos para la aplicación, el primero sería explorar los programas que mejor atiendan al estudiante, aplicar para esos programas y seleccionar esa escuela o programa que satisface al estudiante o que encuentra que es la mejor opción para el estudiante.
Okay, so applying to high school.
Vamos para la aplicación de aplicar para la escuela secundaria.
So like we went through this part last time as well, but there are 3 different categories of programs that you're going to potentially get offers from. 1, everybody gets an offer to your neighborhood school. That's not listed on this slide, but everyone gets an offer to their neighborhood school.
Van a ver, como habíamos mencionado anteriormente, van a haber tres tipos de programas. y uno de ellos se llama la opción de la escuela de la comunidad.
So the first category are choice programs. So those are magnet schools, CTE schools, military schools, IB schools, charter schools, all fall into choice programs.
La primera opción sería la escuela, el programa de escoger, que se llama Choice Program, el cual incluye la escuela de magnet, cualquier escuela CTE, escuelas militares, y escuelas internacionales y otras escuelas charter schools también.
Then there's also selective enrollment schools, and those 11 are listed here.
Y la segunda opción sería el programa selectivo que habíamos mencionado anteriormente, el cual, como están viendo en la presentación, tiene las escuelas de Brooks, Hancock, Jones, Lane, Limblom, King, Northside, Peyton, South Shore, Westing, and Whitney.
So before we didn't have the exact numbers for this. So you can see here, the first step is that you can choose up to 20 choice programs and up to 6 selective enrollment programs to apply to.
Aquí tenemos más información de muchas de las preguntas que tuvieron anteriormente. Para la primera opción, que sería el Choice Program, el programa escoger, tienen para escoger hasta 20 programas, y la segunda opción, el programa selectivo, tienen hasta 6 programas para escoger.
And those are the maximum. So if you have fewer, that's okay, but I would explore all options.
Y nuestra recomendación sería que escojan hasta el límite, si pueden, para tener más opciones. Obviamente no pueden tener más de 20 en la primera opción, y en la segunda opción no pueden tener más de 6.
So once you choose your 20 choice and up to 6 selective enrollment, then you rank those programs. So you put them in true order of preference, like put your first choice first, your second choice second. So you first rank your choice programs, and then you rank your selective enrollment programs.
Ya una vez hayan escogido las 20 escuelas del primer programa y las 6 escuelas del segundo programa, les recomendamos que en el próximo paso las pongan en el orden de mayor gusto. De mayor gusto hasta menor gusto.
Then, okay, this part feels a little confusing. So then you would receive one offer, up to one offer for each of those 2 sections if your student is qualified and the receipts available.
Si su estudiante cualifica y tiene los recibos disponibles, lo más que van a recibir es una oferta por cada programa, ya sea por el programa de escoger, el que era el primero, y el segundo, el programa selectivo. Lo más que pueden recibir es más de una oferta si su estudiante cualifica.
Okay. So it's going to look a little bit better on the next slide. The image is better.
Y las imágenes se van a ver mucho mejor en este próximo slide.
So you can receive up to 3 offers. You will not receive more than 3 offers.
Y como habíamos mencionado, de las 3 opciones que el estudiante tiene para aplicar, solamente va a recibir una oferta por cada programa. So, lo más que pueden recibir son 3, una individual en cada programa, si su estudiante cualifica.
Yeah, so everybody 100% will get an offer to their neighborhood school.
Y el 100% que el estudiante va a recibir sin ningún tipo de problema va a ser para la opción de la comunidad.
So then in this graphic, this student got waitlisted for their first and second choice, but they got their 3rd round choice for choice school.
Y en este ejemplo, como pueden observar, en este estudiante recibió la oferta de la comunidad, de la opción de la comunidad, y la opción de escoger, y todavía está esperando para la tercera, la selectiva.
And then they got their second choice for a selective enrollment school.
Y terminaron recibiendo la oferta de la segunda opción, que sería la de choice, la de escoger.
It's possible that you will only get a neighborhood school. It's possible that you'll get a neighborhood school and selective. It's possible that you'll get neighborhood and choice. You are not guaranteed 3 offers. You're guaranteed 1 offer, but you could get up to 3.
Lo más que le pueden garantizar es una oferta, el cual 100% va a ser la oferta de la comunidad. No se garantiza que cualifiquen para choice o selective. Lo más que pueden recibir, como hemos mencionado, es una por cada programa, pero 100% seguro si van a recibir la de la comunidad.
So then the round one offers are released in the spring, and then the waitlist process starts after the accept and decline deadline in the spring.
El primer round de las ofertas sale para el spring. El proceso va a comenzar tan pronto ya ustedes completen el deadline de terminar las aplicaciones.
So then here we get into the high school admissions test details. So every student will be taking it on November 9th here at Irving Park.
Y aquí comienza los detalles de las admisiones, de las pruebas de admisiones, el cual se va a comenzar las pruebas en noviembre 9 en la escuela de Irving Park.
There's a makeup date if your child is sick on December 7th.
De su estudiante no poder asistir ya que estuvo enfermo o cualquier otra situación, van a tener una prueba de emergencia para diciembre 7.
So there's 450 points total. The ELA has 3 sections of vocabulary, reading, and language, and then the math section is just 1 section, and they each are 225 points.
Y como pueden ver en la parte derecha de la pantalla, el examen tiene un total de 450 puntos. Se divide en 2 secciones, la de lectura y matemática. La sección de lectura se divide en vocabulario, lectura y lenguaje, que cuesta 225 puntos. Y la otra sección sería la de matemática, que cuesta 225 puntos.
I know this slide says no NWA exams will be given. However, we are doing it at CICS Irving Park and at distinctive schools to help us just inform instructional practices.
Y en este slide se está indicando que no se está proveyendo ningún examen de NWA EA, pero en la escuela de Irving Park se están dando los exámenes como un tipo de repaso y preparar los estudiantes para esta prueba de admisión.
So then for selective enrollment, the point system is a little bit more. So there's 900 points total when looking at the selection process for a selective enrollment school.
Para la segunda opción, que sería la escuela de proceso de selección, el examen cambia de 900 puntos, el cual se divide en 2 partes, que serían las notas finales del grado 7º, y la otra parte sería el resultado de la prueba de admisión.
So again, this is looking at 7th grade grades in the core subjects. So reading, math, science, and social studies.
El cual la parte de 7º grado, las notas, pues estarían escogiendo las notas de inglés, matemáticas, ciencia y estudios sociales.
And there's a certain number of points that are given depending on the letter grade.
Y como pueden ver en la parte izquierda, los puntos se van colocando dependiendo de la nota, en la parte de abajo de izquierda.
Your child's grades are still saved in the Summit Learning platform, so you can see the 7th grade grades in the Summit Learning platform.
Y si necesitan ir a la plataforma de aprendizaje de Summit, ahí pueden ver las notas del grado 7º.
So you would take your points for 7th grade grades plus the points that your child receives on their high school admissions test. And that would tell you the total number of points that they would have going into the point system for selective enrollment.
Y repasando de nuevo, cuando tengan la puntuación de las notas de 7º grado, combinado con la prueba de admisión, ahí les van a dejar saber cuánto es la puntuación que obtuvo el estudiante.
Okay, questions there?
¿Alguna duda o pregunta?
So we have to
I have
figure
a
out the
question.
point system?
Hold on. All right. Let's go, Miss Darlene.
Okay, so we have to figure out the point system once we have the exam back? Is
No,
that how that works?
They will do it. It's just for your own knowledge, so you can see kind of where your student falls in the point system. But like all the points are calculated, it's put into their GoCPS, like everything gets reported to CPS. But sometimes some parents just kind of like to know where their child is standing. so they can kind of see where they're at when it comes to points. But there's nothing you need to do. That's just for information for you.
Oh, okay.
What's,
I
what's
have
the
a question.
turnaround for us to know the points?
Hold on, can we, let's have people use the hand raise, if we can use the hand raise reaction so that we can, I think someone just asked, I didn't hear people.
I can't see.
That's okay, I can. Okay, so Brian, or can you?
Yeah, so
go- yeah, okay.
thank you. So I had a question. So I know you guys were talking about the different scaling. So it's 900 for selective programs, correct?
That's the
points total?
total, yeah.
Right. And that will be as far as what, like the top schools, like for example, Lane Tech, all of those.
Yeah. So yeah, and there's a chart that has, like, because it's a new system, we're not using NWA, the exact cutoffs of what it's going to be are not necessarily all laid out. But there is a chart that I think students have started to look at in class that sort of shows the ideas of like where it's going to fall for each of the schools. It is also on GoCPS, so we can get that for you too. But again, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But I want to be clear. Hold on. I want to be clear that like there aren't exacts this year because it's new. So it could be depending on who applies.
So it will be the best thing to do will probably be just get in contact with the school and find out exactly what their requirements will be and get it directly from the school, correct? Like they will be able to give you more information on that.
They will be, but what happens is, like, they have a bunch of kids apply, right? And let's say for whatever reason they have 15 seats, which is not what they have, and all 15 kids have 900 total points. Well, then it would be the 900 point would get them into that school. So it just depends on like who's applying and what happens. But there are general thoughts and ideas of what will be required to get into each school, and those are on GoCPS. I can find it right now and send it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Keating, do you have a question?
You know what, you guys kind of just answered that.
Okay.
I wanted to kind of, the scale was for each school. But we'll go on that GoCPS. And then also with the wait list, as I saw, that one example, 2 was wait list, 1, the 3rd school she got in. So you don't have to accept that school. We could wait for the wait list to see if she does get in, and then if she doesn't, we can accept the school. Then
You would want to accept, because the waitlist process doesn't start until after everyone either accepts or declines. If you decline, then you lose your seat.
Okay, so we want to accept, and then we'll wait to see if we get into the other schools.
Exactly.
And we'll drop that school and go to the other.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's the kind of thing that we'll be supporting the students when that stuff comes out. And Ms. Martirano has done this, and we're going to be there to support. So that's the kind of thing that we'll be able to help with.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I just wanted to share really quickly in regard to the questions about points for high schools. It's in our weekly update. We send out those links from GoCPS with the resources. So check the weekly update that we send out. They're all saved there. And I also just added it to the chat.
Thanks, Jess.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you have to choose 20 or close to 20 schools?
No,
Or the
no.
6 select? Because my son is only choosing 3.
Yeah, that's okay.
He's going by his 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and what's around, like where we live. Is
Yeah.
that okay?
Yes, you can choose.
Okay.
The maximum is 20 and the maximum is 6. Don't put schools down if, there's no way you're going to be, if you got your 20th choice, there's no way you're going to be going there. Truly just spend the time investing in the schools that you're interested in, but really have an open mind, because if you're only choosing 3 and you don't get any of those 3, just being prepared for that, situation.
Got it. Okay, I will talk to him. Thank you.
There's a question here. Julia, do you want to go, and then we'll take the tier question?
Yes, it was in regards to the wait list, and you kind of answered it. But if we accept the offer, but do they call the wait list, do they later call after the deadline? Or do we have to contact them?
You'll be contacted.
Okay.
I think it also might just be continuing to keep an eye on your email. And it might be coming in through your email versus like actually calling you and telling you a position is open. It depends on the school.
Okay, thank you.
So there was a question about tiers. Will the tiers be taken into account? Oh, and we stopped kind of translating. But the tiers will be taken into account after the point system. So it's like another, the slide.
So like the example that Miss Mandel said that like if you've got 500 kids that applied and all 500 get 900 points, like then how do you make a determination? That's when they would start looking at the tiers.
What does a tier consist of, or what is it based on?
Where you live, your address.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions so far?
So yeah, one last question. So tiers, you said it'll be based on tiers. So what they're gonna go by base who lives closer to the school?
Not necessarily. There's a tiered system in Chicago for addresses. So they look at different, it's a system that CPS has created. So truly it's not may be related to the location to the school, and it could be, you know, so like just the neighborhood and the number of kids they're taking from each neighborhood or tier.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
And if any, we can also stay on and answer any and like reinforce any questions in Spanish too, because I know that went really, really fast.
Yeah, we need to keep translating. So we'll translate moving forward on that.
Mr. Baez, do you just want to say, we'll stay on to answer any additional questions in Spanish too.
Sí, sé que no pudimos traducir muchas de las preguntas de los padres cuando acabemos la presentación. Si tienen alguna duda o pregunta, por favor, déjenos saber.
All right, so Miss Mandel's going to walk through how you apply in the application process.
Y ahora vamos a continuar con cómo el proceso de cómo aplicar en GoCPS.
And we just want to reinforce that we're going to be sending out these slides so that you can have this side by side with you as you go through that process. So please don't get overwhelmed. You're going to have these slides in your inbox tomorrow.
Por favor, no se preocupen. Mañana estaremos enviando la presentación para que la tengan y puedan utilizarla. Y ahí todo tipo de proceso que vamos a estar discutiendo lo van a tener en sus manos en los próximos días.
Before we go on, Mr. Ray, did you have another question or are you okay?
No, I'm okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. You will get this. The link for GoCPS is included here. So you'll get that tomorrow.
Mañana van a recibir el link con el pase de la página de GoCPS.
Okay. I also want to reiterate that you do need to sign in and create a new account, regardless of older siblings having done this before. So when in doubt, create an account.
Este proceso, aunque al estudiante tenga hermanos o hermanas que ya hayan pasado por este proceso, tienen que ir a GoCPS y crear una cuenta nueva para el estudiante que vaya a aplicar para las escuelas.
And then you can see in the corner there, it has your ability to change the language.
Y una vez reciban el link, en la parte de arriba pueden seleccionar la flechita que está al lado del que parece un mundo y ahí van a ver los diferentes idiomas.
Right. Next, you'll see the sort of information page. One thing I want to let you know is you'll see their guardian email. Please use your email, a personal email, and not the student email, not their DS email, because students cannot get emails. So if you don't have an email, make one outside and not using the student email.
Por favor, algo bien importante, cuando pasen a esta segunda página, este proceso, es bien importante que tengan, que el padre, la madre o el guardián tengan un email propio y no del estudiante. ¿No? Si ponen el email del correo electrónico del estudiante, el estudiante no va a recibir ningún tipo de resultados.
And then you will be required to sort of say where you want to be notified. And that goes back to the question of like, if on a wait list where you'll be notified, this will tell them where you want to do that. Do you want text notifications both or email notifications?
Y en el encasillado rojo de la parte de arriba tienen que escoger una de las dos opciones, ya sea recibir notificaciones por correo electrónico o recibir notificaciones por mensaje de texto.
And then to create the account, you'll click create.
Y en la parte de abajo, ya una vez hayan terminado con la contraseña y todo, aprieten la opción de crear la cuenta.
Next one here, a couple of reminders, make sure you have the right school year for what you're applying for, and that would be the 22-23 school year, and then clicking the button to get started with adding a student to your account.
En la próxima, después que terminen con la página anterior, las va a llevar a esta, obviamente, el cual, por favor, verifiquen que en la parte de arriba tengan el año escolar correcto, 2022-2023, y en la parte de abajo aprieten la opción de comenzar.
Again, this was the question before. We do have CPS IDs. The student CPS IDs are their 50 number. It's their email. They'll know it if you ask your student what their number is. That is what you're going to use for the student ID and student name. By using that, it will pull up all information, grades, and anything that is in the system, because we do use the CPS system.
Y una vez lleguen a este punto de la aplicación, por favor, bien importante que pongan el número de estudiantes con el resto de la información para así poder, van a poder obtener todos los resultados que van a tener hasta el momento.
And then one of the things that we were told in our training is that the continue to application button on the bottom is hidden because it's blue, really bad design. Just make sure you look down there and but it's there. So look carefully.
Y una vez completen la información del estudiante en la parte de abajo con el programa que es nuevo, van a ver un botón bien azul. Puede ser que se vea mal cuando estén en la aplicación, pero asegúrense que va a estar en la parte de abajo de la pantalla para poder proseguir a la próxima página.
Okay, here you'll see there's sort of there's a navigation bar that's going to give you step-by-step all the different steps you're going to need to apply and to add students and select programs. The check means that you've completed it. The orange pie is that it has not been completed and it has not been saved. Okay, go ahead.
En la próxima, en esta pantalla que estamos observando ahora, tienen que asegurarse que completen todos los pasos de comienzo a final. Como pueden observar, el check de color verde significa que ya completó todos los pasos necesarios para esa etapa. Y si ven algún tipo de icono anaranjado, quiere decir que les faltan documentos para poder terminar.
And then you'll see there's some other little reminders. Don't click the button to go back. And on the bottom, you can click through whichever steps you want, as long as you've been to that step before.
Y asegúrense de no darle para atrás una vez ya haber terminado las páginas anteriores y van a tener recordatorios durante cada página que estén trabajando.
So the benefit of putting in and what will happen when you put in the student CPS ID is that the student information will be pulled up and pre-populated into the student information.
Una vez ya hayan puesto el número de estudiantes en la primera página de la aplicación, ya el número se va a seguir transfiriendo en cada documento que ustedes estén trabajando. Como por ejemplo en esta pantalla, ya cuando ustedes han puesto el número de identificación, no van a tener que volverlo a poner.
If you find an error in this pre-populated information, you will not be able to change it. That is something you'll need to reach out to me about, or just shoot an email to the teachers who will reach out to me. That will need to be changed on our end. That means something's not right in the CPS system.
de haber tenido un error en esta pantalla, ya sea con la dirección o con cualquier tipo de información, tienen que contactar a la señora Mendel por correo electrónico y dejarle saber, porque pudo haber sido que haya un problema con la página de GoCPS.
So it's very important if you do have other siblings that are in high school, that are in CPS, to fill in multiple sibling information. It's oftentimes left blank, but it's really important that they have all the information. The default is to no, so make sure you click on yes if you do have siblings, and then you can add as many siblings as you need there.
Bien, bien importante, por favor, si cuando estén completando este documento, cuando les pregunten si tienen algún hermano o hermana, que el estudiante tenga algún hermano o hermana en las escuelas de CPS, por favor indiquen si lo tienen. Y en la parte de abajo, en los encasillados, por favor indiquen cuántos hermanos o hermanas tiene el estudiante.
This is for any student that has an IEP or 504 or any sort of service plan. You will here hit yes that they have an IEP or a 504. Because it is already in the CPS files, it will be automatically connected, but if you need to upload any information, it is optional. So you can upload that, but not necessary because it will pull from our system.
En esta sección, es si el estudiante participa de un plan de educación especial o un plan de 504 con servicios y acomodaciones. Si el estudiante está en estos tipos de planes, una vez usted le indique, automáticamente se registra con la cuenta que tengan en CPS. Pero también van a tener una opción que si quieren subir cualquier tipo de documento con relación a estudiantes, son más que bienvenidos de hacerlo. Y cada pregunta es requisito tienen que completarla antes de poder proseguir a la próxima sección.
This next part, I think, is going to be more beneficial when you go back in and trying to search to use as information. But you will here be able to search the different programs using keywords and filters and looking at a map view based on, whatever your areas you're looking at. And then you can sort. It is automatically sorted by distance. However, you can see that there's other ways to sort too. I would recommend when you're ready to sort and ready to look for things coming back as reminders to this page.
En esta sección van a ver diferentes encasillados para asegurarse que no dejen nada en blanco. En esta cuestión van a estar trabajando con la distancia. Les va a proveer el mapa de la distancia, de a cuánto está la distancia de las escuelas de su casa, y tomen su tiempo para que así escojan, ¿verdad?, las mejores opciones que tengan para su estudiante.
Again, next, once you find that program, you've done that search, you can view program details about it. You can see a map, and then you can click on one of the programs to add it to your list to rank, basically. And then as you go through, a little box shows up to see how many programs you've clicked to then move on when you're ready, however many you want, to the ranking.
Una vez ya hayan escogido las escuelas de su gusto, las van a llevar a esta sección, el cual pueden ver detalles del programa, detalles de dónde está localizado la escuela, la distancia y diferentes opciones que pueden observar, y van a tener marcados en la parte de abajo cuántas escuelas ya han escogido hasta este punto.
And then once you've picked those schools, then you will get to a page to rank them based on how many you have. One of the a new website, if you want to go back and re-rank, to erase the ranking, you have to go back up to select choice 1. That's sort of like the blank, right? So if you want to re-rank, go and make all of them back to select choice, whatever number, and then you can re-rank them.
Y en la próxima página, como están observando aquí, pues aquí es donde comienzan a escoger las escuelas en el orden de su preferencia.
And the last piece is here. when you get your rank, when you get your scores, or if you decide to go re-rank, you go to an open house, whatever it is, and you want to make that change, this will let you go to edit ranking. And then you'll see, the high school admissions exam won't be something for your, but if there's any sort of tryout or anything else that you need to be scheduling, that will show up on your this ending dashboard as well.
Y en esta sección aquí van a poder ver si tienen que hacer algún tipo de ajuste, cambiar el orden de las escuelas de su preferencia. Tengan en cuenta que no podrán cambiar ningún tipo de orden de las escuelas después que se cierre la fecha de aplicación, que sería en diciembre 15. Pero pueden hacer cualquier tipo de cambio antes. Sorry, Ms. Mendez.
No, you're fine. I just want to reiterate that. So no one should be signing up for the high school exam when they're going through it, because every single student will be taking it here at Irving Park. So you do not need to, if like in the beginning of the call, somebody was able to have to pick a time, that should not happen. If you are putting in the CPS ID number like that, you will not be prompted to do that.
No tienen que escoger cuando lleguen a la opción de cuándo, qué día, qué hora para coger el examen. No tienen que escoger nada de eso porque las pruebas se van a estar tomando en la escuela de Irving Park.
Okay. Any additional questions?
¿Alguna duda o pregunta?
Oh, I can. When do we get the scores from the test?
It's a really good question. I'm going to assume it's going to be after the makeup date. But I don't know we haven't been given a date.
Okay.
You'll know as soon as we do.
Can you translate that, Mr. Baez?
Absolutely. Una de las preguntas fue ¿cuándo se estima recibir la puntuación de los exámenes? En realidad no sabemos, como todo el programa es nuevo, no tenemos una fecha en específico, pero tan pronto recibamos las pruebas o recibamos una notificación, le dejamos saber. O probablemente nos enteremos en el mismo punto que ustedes se enteren.
I also want to say that Ms. Martirano and Ms. Serrano are sending out the weekly emails. And so making sure that you read those updates. I know that she's linking in the GoCPS information, but also she'll be sharing any information that needs to go out about any sort of high school information.
Y también estén bien pendientes a las notificaciones, a los emails que se envían semanalmente de Irving Park, a veces ponemos todos los updates que tenemos recibidos de CPS hasta el momento.
I'm sorry, I have one more question. So the class that some of the kids are taking in prep of this test, are they going to be doing like a practice test at the end of this session before the actual test is going to be taken? Do you know that?
Ms. Martirano, do you want to sort of know and then about what the students will have the ability to get into GoCPS or get into the testing platform to practice for the test of what it's going to be like.
Okay.
Will you translate that, Mr. Baez?
Una de las preguntas que acaban de hacer es si ellos nuestros estudiantes van a tener oportunidad de repasar el sistema de cómo van a tomar el examen antes de tomar el examen en el día de tomar el examen. Y la contestación es sí, se le va a estar enseñando cómo navegar en el sistema días antes de tomar la prueba, para que se sientan familiarizados con el sistema.
It was my understanding, Ms. Martirano, tell me, because you're leading that session, that there are no practice tests for this.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So it's just more like the platform.
If you have questions regarding specifically the after school test prep class, feel free to email me and I can answer them. I will say in terms of the whole class, all of 8th grade, I have made a list and Ms. Serrano is making one as well for some IXL practices that go over our like top hitting material and content to practice so that the students are reviewing the concepts that will most likely be on the high school admissions test. And again, kind of to reiterate what Ms. Feinberg said, We do not know for sure, word for word, what will be on the test. CPS has not released that to the public. However, they have said it is a reiteration of the selective enrollment test, which they have been doing for many, many years now. So we know what has been on it in the past. And we're just kind of going off of what has been made public from the past. But sadly, they have not made it super duper clear exactly what will be on it word for word this year.
All right, let's just, Mr. Byers, can you translate that part? Sorry.
Otra de las preguntas fue si sabemos el material que se les va a estar dando en esas pruebas, y la contestación es no, porque el sistema es nuevo. CPS todavía no ha dado detalles al público con relación de la información que los estudiantes van a estar recibiendo en esas pruebas. Lo que estamos haciendo nosotros en Irving Park es prácticamente utilizando el material que sabemos de los años anteriores, pero tan pronto sepamos algo, les daremos más información a ustedes.
Ms. Morales, you have your hand raised.
Yes, I had a question. I know you said that the scores you don't have a date for the scores when we get them after they take the test, but you mentioned something about a makeup test. Is that something that you have a date for, that we have an idea of when sometime after that we would see the scores?
I think we'll see the scores before that, because that's like right before the makeup test is only a couple days before the closing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will say in past years.
Hold on, wait, let's just let Mr. Baez translate real quick.
Cuando una de las preguntas de la mamá es refiriéndose a cuándo sería la fecha de un makeup test de no poder asistir el día del examen.
So again, the makeup date was December 7th, I think, right? Ms. Mandel? I just can't scroll back real easily. December 7th is the makeup date. If anybody was sick the day of the assessment, it's not like a second shot at taking it. And then we don't know when they'll be releasing those scores. We do know, Ms. Martorano, that they will be releasing scores.
Okay, so
I'm sorry.
So Ms. Mandel said that most likely that the scores will be before that test, the makeup test, right?
We think, but we don't. Again, we're kind of at the mercy of CPS, but we.
Right. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Baez.
Y la otra de las preguntas fue basado si tenemos algún tipo de información sobre las pruebas de los resultados, cuándo podrán recibir los resultados, y la contestación es que no la tenemos todavía. CPS no se ha informado con nosotros con relación a eso todavía.
Any additional questions before we move on? So I'll take this one, Ms. Mandel, if you want to work on the link. There are family trainings as well, if you want to go through this process again with people from CPS. I think the information is going to be almost identical to what we've gone through tonight, but if you want an additional time to kind of go through this process, there are times here, and Ms. Mandel's putting in the chat a link to sign up for one of those.
La señora Mendo no es opcional. CPS está proveyendo entrenamientos en las fechas que están observando en el slide. Básicamente es bien relacionado a la información que le estamos dando ahora en estos momentos, pero si siente que necesita ir a esos entrenamientos, la señora Mendo lo va a estar poniendo en el chat y ahí le da el link para registrarse.
And then if you wanted to contact CPS directly, the Office of Access Enrollment, the phone number is here and the email is here as well. We can put those in the chat too. Ms. Martrana or Ms. Mandel, can you drop those in the chat? One of you.
Y si quieren contactarse con la oficina de acceso y registro directamente, como pueden observar, ahí tienen el número de teléfono y la página de correo electrónico, el cual también se va a estar proveyendo en el chat.
Any closing questions? I took notes on the other questions. If you want to just translate this, Mr. Bez, when I'm finished. That I took notes from the other question session, so we'll be able to go through those in Spanish at the end.
La señora Feinberg tomó notas de las preguntas que también se hicieron en español en el chat. Si tienen alguna duda o pregunta, por favor, déjenos saber.
Sí, yo tengo una pregunta. Hablaron sobre las calificaciones A, B, C. ¿Eso tiene algo que ver, por ejemplo, si mi hijo tiene A más, A menos, B más, B menos, la calificación es la misma? Sea A menos, A más es 112.5, B 75 puntos o varía?
You got that, or you want me to translate it?
So I think I got, so is there
Pluses or minuses? Yeah.
Yes.
There are no pluses and minuses. It's just, we have them in ours, but it would just A minus, A plus, it's an A. B plus, B minus is a B in terms of score.
Okay, para contestar la pregunta, en el sistema de la escuela sí está viendo A más, B más y C, pero en cuestión de la aplicación, usted va a ver si es A, si es B y si es C es C. Así es como lo redondean ellos en el sistema, si hace sentido lo que le estoy diciendo.
Ok, muchas gracias.
De nada. Thank you.
any other questions?
¿Alguna duda o pregunta?
Okay, well, thank you so much for staying and for, Ms. Keating, did you have another question?
No.
Okay, thank you so much to everybody for staying and for joining us again. We will continue to share information as we get it. If we get updates on things, we will share them with you. And then again, if you needed that middle question section in Spanish, just stay on for another 5 or 10 minutes.
Muchas gracias. Si tienen alguna duda o pregunta, por favor, comuníquense con los educadores por correo electrónico. Muchas gracias por asistir y cualquier tipo de información adicional que nosotros recibamos, se la estaremos dejando saber.
Thank you. Mr. Perez, I'm just going to go back to a couple slides where there were some questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So the first one was around the points. I'm going to do that. I'm going to translate Mr. Baez.
Una de las preguntas que tenemos que repasamos en la parte de atrás es con relación a la puntuación.
So there was a question on if you are responsible for keeping track of points and having to total that up. And the answer is no. These points slides are just for your information so that you can start thinking through points and kind of seeing how your child does on their assessments.
Volviendo al tema de las puntuaciones, el tema de los resultados ya van a estar combinados cuando reciban las calificaciones combinadas con las notas de séptimo grado. Así que no tienen que hacer ningún tipo de cálculo. Esto simplemente le estamos dejando saber cuánto vale cada calificación y en las diferentes opciones de exámenes que el estudiante puede tomar.
And then there was another question about neighborhood tiers, if those were factored in to the selection process.
Y otra pregunta es en correlación si tienen en el programa de la comunidad, si se divide si tienen diferentes divisiones en cuestión de estudiantes o niveles.
So Chicago Public Schools tiers all the neighborhoods. And so after the points are factored in, if, for example, there's 500 kids that applied to a school and every kid got the same number of points, they have to, like 900 points, they have to make a decision as to which kids to pick. So then they would start looking at neighborhood tiers.
Y básicamente vamos a suponer, dándoles un ejemplo, si 500 estudiantes tomaron la opción y el examen de la comunidad y todos tienen alrededor de la misma puntuación, CPS entonces estaría haciendo la selección de quienes van para esa, o quienes pasan o quien reciben una oferta de esa escuela.
So especially in like these choice programs and these selection programs, they don't want to have every single student coming from the same neighborhood. Like every seat is given to a student in, you know, the Irving Park neighborhood. So that's why they look at the tiers.
Y en cuanto se habla de la selección de choice o la selección de choice o la selección selectiva, ellos escogen estudiantes de diferentes comunidades.
Another question was around the number of choices. So from this slide, somebody was saying, do I have to pick 20 and do I have to rank 6?
Otra de las preguntas eran con relación de cuántas opciones o cuántas escuelas debería escoger por opción.
And the answer is no, but you can choose as many as you want. That's just the maximum. But we really encourage you to have an open mind, because if you're only picking 2 schools and you don't get into any of them, you're only getting the neighborhood school as your option.
Entonces, pueden escoger en la opción del programa de escoge o la de selección. Pueden escoger hasta 20 en la de escoge y en la de selectiva hasta 6. Pueden escoger menos de esas opciones, pero siempre recomendamos que escojan las más que puedan. Así tienen ya más oportunidad de recibir una oferta de estas escuelas o de estos programas.
And then the last question was about wait lists.
Y la última pregunta era con relación de la lista de espera.
So somebody was saying, like in this example in the middle, the first 2 schools of their choice schools were waitlisted, but they got their 3rd choice.
Y por ejemplo, en el casillado del medio, el estudiante está en la lista de espera de la primera y la segunda opción, pero recibió una oferta de la tercera opción.
So somebody was asking if they need to decline their seat so that they get their wait list choice, and the answer is no.
Alguien preguntó si deberían negar o no escoger la oferta que recibieron, y la contestación es no.
Because if you decline, so let's just say this in the middle section again, if you say no to that seat, you lose your spot. So even though it's your 3rd choice, you may still want it if you don't get into the waitlist schools.
Y la contestación, el por qué no deben negar ningún tipo de oferta, es porque una vez ya nieguen o declinen una cierta oferta y, por ejemplo, están esperando por las otras 2 opciones, si no reciben la opción de la escuela que usted quería y ya negó la oferta que recibió, no puede volver a aplicar para esa escuela.
So if you want to wait for those wait lists, you have to accept and then just wait.
Le recomendamos entonces que acepten las ofertas que recibieron, aunque tengan las primeras 2 o 3 opciones todavía en la lista de espera, y así tienen tiempo para, ¿verdad? Que todo salga bien y ojalá reciban las opciones que quieren.
Those were all of the questions in that middle section. Does anybody else have any questions?
¿Alguna otra duda o pregunta?
Tengo una pregunta.
Diga.
Acerca de los niños que son English learner. ¿La calificación es la misma? Yo específicamente, independientemente de Miss Mendel, de Joseph Pozo, ¿debo seguir poniendo English Learner Program o no? ¿Me podría ayudar, por favor?
Sí, cómo no. Ms. Mendel, she's asking if students with English learners, do they receive the same qualifications or the same grades as students with no English learners? And when they applied, if she needs to indicate that her student or her kid is English language learner.
So I can help. So yes. Yes, I would mark that they are an English language learner. And then, go ahead.
I'm sorry. La señora Feinberg dice que sí, que debería aplicar indicando que es English language learner. Go ahead, Summer.
And then in the classroom, those students are given additional support and resources with we call it CLD, but it's English language learner, with those extra teacher supports to support the language in the learning.
Y el cual en el salón el estudiante está recibiendo ya servicios de asistencia en correlación al lenguaje. Nosotros lo llamamos CLD, pero es para, como quien dice, atacar y ayudar estudiantes con English language learners.
In addition, because we are CPS and that all comes through CPS, they also know that he's an English language learner through access scores.
Y una vez,
But what? I'm sorry, go ahead,
no,
Melissa.
Y una vez ya usted haya escogido la opción de que el estudiante es English language learners, automáticamente se registra con la información que tienen en CPS.
Yeah, it's just on this slide, Ms. Mandel, where it was like, do you have an IEP? Do you have
Yeah.
Or there's also a yes, no, are you an English language learner?
Yeah. Yes.
Así que en resumen, sí, por favor, indique si el estudiante participa o no en estos servicios.
Ok, muchísimas gracias.
A usted. Thank you.
Wait time.
Tengo una pregunta, buenas tardes. Disculpe,
Sí.
yo quiero saber si mi hija Brianna Kiridumbay está en uno de esos programas.
¿Cuál es el nombre de nuevo? Disculpe.
Brianna Kiridumbay.
Mom is asking if Brianna Jiritumbai is in one of those programs. ¿Usted se refiere a programas como de ELL?
Sí, yo tengo que poner porque yo sé que a ella le recoge Miss Faye para uno de esos programas. No sé si es uno de esos, si yo tengo que poner eso en la aplicación.
In regards of her kid, if she needs to indicate that in the application.
Yeah, we'll email you separately and give you that and let you know which ones to check.
Ellos en correlación a su estudiante se le va a estar enviando un correo electrónico aparte con la información de qué tienen que utilizar en esa aplicación. ¿Está bien?
Okay, gracias.
Gracias a usted. No problem.
That's actually a great segue that we will be getting information out about one-on-ones that we'll be having with families and students in the next couple weeks. So to know that any of those questions can get answered at that point in time too.
Y cualquier otro tipo de estudiante que esté en la misma, con la misma pregunta, con la mamá que acaba de hacer esa pregunta, se le va a estar contactando independientemente si es el mismo caso. Por favor, se comunican con la escuela.
Any other questions?
¿Alguna duda o pregunta?
I do. Just a quick question with regards to the, I asked Ms. Mandel earlier and it wasn't approached anymore, but I was wondering if we still have to contact Ms. Martorano then on any questions with regards to maybe additional workshops for the test prep. Will there be any other opportunities, office hours or anything that the kids can go to after school for additional time for the test prep if they didn't sign up for the workshop?
All right, let Mr. Baez translate. Go ahead, Mr. Baez.
Otra de las preguntas es si se va a estar proveyendo algún tipo de asistencia o repaso después de horarios de la escuela.
Ms. Martorano did say, so there won't be any form, like any of the outside test prep that occurred. That won't, there are no more options for that. But Ms. Martorano did mention and did say that she is putting together opportunities, those IXL lists that the students will have as practice, and that will time in the day will be given that they'll be going through that information to help practice for that test.
Okay, thank you.
Los repasos o prácticas se van a estar proveyendo en la escuela durante horarios de escuela y ya se les va a estar notificando con la fecha que más o menos estarán recibiendo esos repasos.
I think there was one other question. Somebody was trying to jump in.
Yes, it's me, Myra. I'm Vladimir mom's, and I had we were starting to fill out the application for one of the high school. But then I tried to do another application the same day and I couldn't do it. Is there like a time that you cannot do all of them together, or it's at a different like day that you have to do it? That's why I asked Vladi to ask Miss Manorano, thank you guys. And he said that I don't remember what he mentioned, that she will email me or something, but I was kind of confused, and the more of course he will be confused.
Totally.
So I was wanted to ask if you guys can help me.
Absolutely. So do you want to translate a little bit, Mr. Baez, just kind of the general?
Sí, prácticamente una de las mamás tuvo un problema con una de las aplicaciones, trató de aplicar más de una vez en el mismo día y tuvo problemas con el sistema.
So in the next week or two, we're going to send out that schedule to schedule like one-on-one time. So either you'll be meeting with me or Miss Mandel or Ms. Serrano or Ms. Martirano, and that will be a time where we can go through the application process, so you can kind of have somebody working with you side by side through it. Also exploring programs and just like kind of almost like a one-on-one counseling through this process.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Y en la próxima semana se les va a estar informando, se les va a estar enviando notificaciones de cuando, si necesitan algún tipo de ayuda en correlación a la aplicación. Muchas del personal de la escuela van a estar proveyendo asistencias en persona, así que se les va a estar enviando pronto las fechas con los días o el horario que trabaje para usted, para entonces reunirse con el personal de la escuela si tienen algún tipo de duda o pregunta con cómo completar la aplicación.
And then Mr. Reyes, go ahead.
Yeah, the application where the part where it's listed to add siblings currently in CPS, does it matter that my son is a senior and he's on his way out this coming year?
Do it.
No, so as long as he's currently a student, that's okay. Very fine. That's it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you want to translate that part, Mr. Baez?
No, sí, no importa, una de las preguntas que tuvo una de las mamás fue si el estudiante está, o si uno de los hermanos o hermanas del estudiante que está aplicando está en el último año de escuela secundaria, que si todavía debe notificar en el sistema como que está en la escuela de CPS. Sí, y la contestación es sí, no importa si está en 10, 11 o 12, notifíquelo o notifícala en el sistema como hermano o hermana.
Light blending. All right, well, thank you everybody so much. If you have any other questions that pop up, please email myself, email Miss Mandel, email Miss Martirano or Miss Serrano, and we will all be there to help you.
Muchas gracias. Si tienen muchas gracias por asistir. Si tienen alguna duda o pregunta, por favor, comuníquense con el personal de la escuela directamente. Muchas gracias por asistir y participar de nuevo.
Thanks, Mr. Baez, for translating. You're the best.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.